Environment Policy Representative, sir, we acknowledge your presence here. The leadership of the city of Fort Portal, because without their consent it is difficult to operate here in this area, but also it was born by the district of Kabarole, which is effectively represented. The chairperson of the district is also the president of Uganda Local Government Association, represented by the executive member of who is the secretary for education and health, Adiri Mbejana is here. People have supported us with this lunch so that we are getting more strength. If there was any other service provided, we know in the team, moving up and down, making sure that we are happy. I want to thank those group items for exhibition. They will be preaching this afternoon at some point. So all other partners that I have not mentioned here and you are here, feel appreciated, please. This evening, reach out to me, I'll make a mention of you. At least for today, I'm the governor of the public address system. The others are more operators. So I still have the right to that. So I want to thank my spokesperson's team. Farida, you are appreciated, the work you are doing, and please keep it up. Culture. I happen to be the governance team leader. With those many remarks, I want to once again thank you for your patience and listening, and I'm happy that you have paced up the exercise of lunch, and I'm sure in the next 10 minutes we are going to be through. In the next 10 minutes, if you can look at your watch, you begin convening, and I hand over, even before that time, I should be able to hand over to my colleague, but I have given you the structure of what we will proceed after lunch. I hope my other colleagues here will take the mantle. I can see, I'm looking at someone, because you know, when it comes to these panel discussions, yes, I participate, I know I can do something, but we have divided up responsibilities. There are some key handlers of this aspect, and they are here already. They're waiting to see when I surrender the microphone and they take up the session. But also, I'm reliably informed we have one of us, Bill Powell, a retired electrical engineer, who would at some point be given an opportunity to talk about clean energy next session. Now they are no next session. Now they are no longer 10 minutes actually. They announced those who are going to handle can begin assembling ourselves to take up the session. The last appeal I'm making, when you make your bed, you must rely on it. You set it today, don't run away blue, because do things from first to last. So your efficiency is called for and called upon. Matters they cannot move away, so let nobody else move away. We have all obligations to go and do, but we still have activities. The week is proceeding, but please be patient with us until we continue to do us plenty of good.
Thank you so much, Hamilton. I would furthermore recognize the presence of representing on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Mount Elizabeth University. I'm proud to say that I'm a product of Mount Elizabeth University 3 years down the road after I attended Chalandi Girls for 6 weeks. Thank you so much. So this particular moment, I'm inviting all participants, please, if you can step back in the tent. All participants, if we are done with lunch and stretching, let's continue before the weather gets on our side. Because we have a given number of speeches that we're going to partake. And after we shall have a session that we shall go through the stalls of the exhibitors and get to see what they're exhibiting for us this particular afternoon. So please, if you're out there, let's gather in the tent and we'll proceed with the next session. We appreciate the service providers for the delicious lunch bringing them to us. And I'm advocating for all plastics to be recycled or even put in one particular area. Botanical Gardens is against plastics. And we as individuals, we are against plastics as well. If we cannot recycle it, then let us put it somewhere gazetted for that particular plastic. And that is the service providers for today's lunch. Please walk to one of the tables and dispose that particular bottle there. I'm reminding each and every one of us to please walk to your tents. We proceed with the afternoon session, because we have a discussion on utilization of technology for effective water resources management, and that one will be commemorated by Mr. Emmons Tiwanje. I call upon everyone to get in the tent and we proceed. On a special way, I want to appreciate all the golfers, and we had one of our best participants who emerged as a winner and carrying the Uganda flag up high, and I can see Isaiah here smiling because he knows what I'm talking about, and that is none other than Ugumayo. Ugumayo is our own, and we as Fort Portal Tourism City and Kabarole District as a whole, we are proud. Thank you so much. And the upper tent, please, you're free to join the downer tents, because I see sunshine is going to hit you so much, and the fact that you're smart in your suits, please feel free to join the downer tents so that you can be sheltered under shed, because the afternoon session is quite exciting and we don't want to miss out any single item.
Nobody can love you the way that I do, yeah. Maybe nobody loves me the way that you do. Nobody can love you the way that I do.
Ukisikia nafunga ndoa, marry you. Menisafisha madoa, niko wingu la blue. I'm gonna stick with you for wherever I'm coming through. Mambo yakienda mbaya, I'm gonna keep you cool. Kama ulisafa sahau, karibu sapa. Kwa bahati nzuri mapenzi yanaishi hapa. Sikio umenipata, sina matata. Jisifie wakapendeza, takwa kashi mkononi kwenye mahitaji. Takupenda moyoni nikupe nafasi. Takwa rambo rindoni vita maji maji. Sitokutenda kutenga, sitokujaji.
Thank you so much for your songs. Mr. Hamilton, are we ready for the next presentation? Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the lunch break. I believe our appetites are quenched now and we're good to go for the afternoon session. But I would request that we stay focused, because I know after a meal there's a tendency of relaxation whereby we need to allow digestion to take place. But don't worry, we're going to take it as fast as possible, utilizing the limited minutes we have to see that we conclude this.
Nobody can love you the way that I do.
One day I used to call my mama.
Ladies and gentlemen, sure things. We're going to have a panel discussion on utilization of technology for effective water resources management. We have panelists ready for this particular discussion to take it off. And we only have 15 minutes to get this presentation and discussion made. So in case we are ready, we can kickstart the discussion. As we're trying to set up for the panelists, I once again welcome each and every one of you from the lunch break. Hope you're okay and good to go for the afternoon session. And we pray that we take notes or jot down what is needed for us this afternoon. I'm advising all people in the upper tent, we're going to have extreme scorching sun. You're free to join the diner tent. In the morning it was us, in the afternoon it is you. So it's your time, but nevertheless please feel free to join us so that you can have a wonderful session as you're listening to all the discussions and jotting down what is needed to be done. But do not forget that we're having exhibitors on ground. Please walk there and get to share knowledge on what they're displaying, have an idea of what they're displaying, and how you can utilize it, either as home use or commercial use, depending on how best it can help you out. The panelists are ready, so this particular moment, allow me to hand over to the panel for the discussion on utilization of technology for effective water resources management. Thank you so much, and you have 15 minutes for this particular presentation. Thank you, and have a very best during your discussion.
Sabiti amazing nibyo buhangwa mu kikari kya Mwitanzige Burundi Albertine Regional Water and Environment Week mibiri abrine Regional Water and Environment Week mibiri abrine egabukire witeranze abakuru abandi kandi obekitweka mukurira no kurorera ebyo buhangwa negendwa cyo kuleta obusinge n'enkorakora n'eyorutekero kurema nkwegesa abantu ebyo bwecumi okuteka enkorata za abantu bona okuyonja ebikaro n'empaka z'okwiruka abakurinda ekisaru kyampanga esabiti y'amaizi n'ebyo buhangwa nija kutandika ebyo bikwezi 14 kugabukire biro bikwezi 23 2022 mu district ya Kaborole, Kamwenge, Chenjojo, Bunyangabu hamwe na Kasese.
The Albertine Regional Water and Environment Week 2022 is back. Join other stakeholders and play a part in preserving and managing the environment to promote peace and sustainable economic transformation through home improvement sanitation campaigns, public dialogue, cleanup exercises, and the Save River Panga Marathon.
Okay, we're having everybody here. Let me invite every one of us, our guests, our hosts, our everyone. Please be invited, take your seats. We are going into a grand activity, the center of the business for today. Come and take seats. 2, I'm going to invite the chairperson of the first session, who is already here. I'll mention her by one name, and she will fully say who she is. After she has taken her seat, I will invite the three panelists to take their seats here. And I'm sure the other two moderators for the last two panel discussions are also within us, and then we can proceed. Madam Farida has already taken seat. We have a discussant on the topic that Madam Farida is going to mention. He has already taken his seat. I'll invite the second panelist. The chair will introduce him when time comes. And I can see even without mentioning the name, he has taken his seat. I'm inviting the third panelist. Even if he delays a little bit to come, but he's coming. He's coming, he takes his space and time. I don't have the authority to mention here because I'm not chairing that session yet. But the data I'm using is what is relevant for now. I will remind the chairs or moderators of these sessions that according to the time schedule that I'm managing here, generally, your discussant or panelist has not more than 15 minutes. After that presentation or panel discussion, probably the audience will be noting areas where they will be interested in commenting on or asking. We agreed because we want to save time, they will all run through, and then we shall have a session where we shall have interaction of Q&A, probably comments, and the rest of that stuff. That is general guidance. I don't want to eat in too much of that time. But of course, after this discussion, we will have exhibition, and there will be pitching of some sort, and other things will follow. But this is the heart and center of the business of this afternoon. With much respect, I'm handing over the microphone to my colleague and moderator of this first session, Madam Farida, and the details of hers are going to proceed. Welcome. Mutire mungal kapetu chale mtsemerwa nae. No. Ako mkono gani kukaza mugimwambire nimejua you get tired. Clap a little bit and see you free. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Like Agnes said, my name is Farida Nawatovu Kaniginya. I'm the Public Relations Manager at America Hotel. And today I'm going to officiate the first discussion that is utilization of technology for effective water resources management. And the panelists are already here. We're going to hear a discussion and perhaps details of what they have in relation to a package. So I advise each and everyone who is here today to take notes, and perhaps after this session we shall have more to discuss and perhaps ask them in case of any. So I will introduce the panelists by names and dignitaries of what they do and more details that you need to know about them. And I would advise that each and every panelist here has only 15 minutes to do the presentation. Thereafter, we hand over to the second panelist and the third panelist, respectively. Thank you so much, and we hope this session ends fruitfully, and we are going to get more to learn about this particular topic of discussion. Once again, the topic of discussion is utilization of technology for effective water resources management. And with me, I have Mr. Amans Twanji. Is the Civil and Water Engineer, Pan-African University, Institute of Water and Energy Sciences, and Algeric. We have the second panelist, who is Mr. Duncan Mahereza, Project Officer, Climate Change, Reproductive Health, Uganda. Then we also have Mr. Riyanga Godfrey Adieri. He is the ED of Toyo Botanical Gardens, where we are seated today. And you see all these panelists are very equipped with the knowledge of the topic that we're going to talk about, because the environment we are seated in best explains that we are indeed advocating for climate change, but in particular, we're going to discuss about how utilization of technology for effective water resources management can help us through. So at this particular moment, I request Mr. Ammons to be the first presenter in relation to today's discussion. Thank you so much. 15 minutes on the dot. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Aman Stiwanje, and I'm a civil engineer by profession and a master's student from the Pan-African University Institute for Water and Energy Sciences in Algeria. I'll be presenting about the utilization of technology for effective water resources management, and I'll focus on the SWOT hydrological modeling and climate change modeling. Next slide. First of all, what is water resources management? Like, this is the planning and management of water resources sustainably to meet the needs of our current needs without compromising the needs of the future generation. Water resources management has experienced like severe challenges. An example of population growth, which has increased the water demand. The second one is about the climate change. The altered precipitation and rising temperatures have also reduced the water levels in most water bodies. Another challenge faced by water resources is the pollution, where industrial discharges are directly deposited in the water bodies, hence contaminating these water bodies and having an effect on the aquatic life as well as the people who depend on these water bodies. Another one is urbanization and weak enforcement of laws. We have the laws, but the enforcement may not be like done in the right way. Next slide, please. Technology has significantly played a critical role in addressing challenges related to water resources management. And of late, artificial intelligence has come on board. We have many like AI tools that can be applied in water resources management. First of all, AI is like simulating human intelligence. Like, you are using computer programs to simulate or to imitate what a human being can do. So this can be used in several ways. For example, monitoring and data collection, whereby real-time monitoring data can be able to be used. Data from satellites, GIS, and sensors. For example, in agriculture, we can use moisture sensors, for example. Like, these work in such a way that they can be able to detect the amount of moisture content in the soil, and maybe automatically or manually by the farmer can be able to activate the irrigation system depending on these sensors. And then modeling and simulation for flood prediction and water availability simulations and prediction. Another role of technology that it can play in water resources management is water treatment. We have so many ways we can use technology in water treatment. We have what we call like reverse osmosis, which can be able to extract like pollutants from soils, and these what we call pollutants can be put to useful usage, and then the water can be used for agriculture and other purposes. And then for decision support system, we can use technology in such a way like we can have a flood prediction using hydrological models and hydraulic models. We can use this as well. And all this can help in decision making by the relevant authorities and policymakers in order to sustainably manage the water resources. Then also, technology can be used for community engagement. For example, use of digital platforms, social media, and the like. These can be used like to send a message to the public about how water can be sustainably used. And yeah, next slide. Some of the technologies and artificial intelligence which we can use in water resources, we have remote sensing, where we can be able to obtain satellite images, for example, from the Landsat and Sentinel, which images we can use for analysis of land use, land cover, and also the unmanned aerial vehicles like drones can be able to monitor the water resources. And about the data analytics, we can use machine learning algorithms like support vector machines, artificial neural networks to do water quality monitoring, water demand forecasting, and the like. Then predictive models, we can be able to use technology like in terms of hydrological forecasting, using hydrological models like SWAT, HMS, HECRAS, and the like, and then also water demand forecasting. Then for smart irrigation systems, technology can be used, just like I said, using moisture sensors. You can be able to use computer programs to set a threshold below which an irrigation system can switch itself on or off, or a farmer can be able to use a cell phone to monitor their farms using such irrigation systems. These help in proper utilization of water. It reduces wastage. Also, the leak detection, this can be used by distribution like systems. They can be used in distribution systems like by national water and people dealing in water distribution, where you can use acoustic sensors, which can be able to detect leakages, which prevent water wastage. And in this, we can be able to sustainably manage our resources. Next slide. I'll take you through some of the climate change models. These are like computer simulations, which can be able to predict how the Earth's system can respond to emissions. These are categorized into two. We have what we call global climate models. These ones simulate like how the whole Earth system can be able to respond to these emissions. However, like if you're looking at smaller catchments, like maybe you're looking at Yamwamba, you're looking at Mbanga, you can be able to downscale these GCMs to regional climate models. And you can be able to do projections for rainfall, to do projections for temperature, and you can be able to simulate what will come in the future. So with this, we can be able to sustainably manage our resources using from a known perspective. Then purposes of these models include projecting future climate scenarios, assessing impacts of climate change on river flows, floods, and the like. And then also they provide valuable information to policymakers and water resources managers and all people to do with water resources. These models can be used to project rainfall. They can be used to project and predict what will come in the future. Examples, I've listed some of the climate models down. I've listed 4 of them from SMIP 6. These models are about 30, but these 4 have been, according to the literature, they are the best performing models in the East African region. We can go to the next slide. Then hydrological modeling is like you're predicting how the Earth's hydrological cycle, how water moves within the catchment. For example, from precipitation, you can be able to understand how much water is going into groundwater. You can be able to understand how much water is going to run off. And all this is aimed at managing our water resources, like managing how water managing how water is moving in the catchment and knowing how much water we have. So applications of some of the hydrological models include water resources management, where you can be able to predict the water quality parameters and the water quantity. You can be also able to do flood forecasting. You can be able to do climate change impact assessment, like simulating peak flows, knowing when the floods will happen. You can use these hydrological models. Can we go to the next slide? These models are categorized into 3. We have lumped models, semi-distributed models, and distributed models. The lumped models simulate the whole catchment. They take the whole catchment to have the same characteristics. And then the distributed models, they divide this catchment into small sub-basins and analyze them, analyze land use, analyze the soil types, analyze the precipitation. Because you may have like rainfall downstream, but in the upstream you don't have rainfall. So these semi-distributed models can help you to understand how this rainfall maybe in the downstream is able to contribute to flow within the catchment. Next slide. This is a case study that where I applied these models. I applied them in the Nyamwamba catchment while investigating the causes of increased flooding in the catchment. Nyamwamba catchment, we all know it's located in Kasese district, and it covers a catchment area of about 256 square kilometers. And Nyamwamba River originates ranging from 800 to 1,600 millimeters. Next slide. This area has been experiencing frequent floods, and these have been attributed to climate change and human activities like deforestation, cutting down trees, which remove the green on the surface and prevent water from infiltrating in the soil, but rather we have like ground. So since previous studies have been primarily focusing on rain alone, I decided like to come up with research like last brings all these factors in predicting and being what causes flooding. I did that with the objective of determining the major contributing factors of flooding in Nyamwamba catchment, but what I did, I developed this model, and the data inputs that I included were the digital elevation model, the land use land cover map from satellite data, a soil map, soil and slope map, which I input in this model. Then I ran the model. I did model calibration and validation. Model calibration is like you're trying to check if this model is a true representative of what is on the ground, if it truly represents the catchment that you are working on. So after model calibration, I was able, after successful performance, I went back. I did scenario analysis where I ran different scenarios on land use and climate change. So I was able to predict from the various government offices data preparation, which involved elimination of inconsistencies, outliers, missing values. I also had to do reprojection of these images, these satellite images, to the real coordinate system in the Nyamwamba. Next slide. And these are the tools that I used, the technologies that we are talking about. I used ArcGIS for mapping. I used remote sensing with data from Landsat satellite images, where I was able to obtain land use, land cover maps from 1990, 2005, and 2022, because I wanted to check how has land use been, how has changes in land use affected peak flows. So I had to do that. Then AppSWAT, I used it for SWAT modeling and simulation. Then SWAT-CAP for model calibration and validation. Then RStudio is a programming language, R programming language, and Python for data analysis, trend analysis, flood frequency analysis, and then CM Hydro for statistical downscaling from the GCMs to the RCMs, just like I talked about the climate change models. And those are the results. You can go to the next slides. And now from there, we can be able to see that precipitation, rainfall, is on a positive trend. If you analyze from 1990 up to 2022, you can see that blue line, it's on the positive trend. And this is important. This is how important these models are. They can be able to show you how rainfall has, the trend of rainfall from 1990, and from using this basis, you can be able to project. With that trend, you can be able to project what will come in the future. Next slide. And that's the flood frequency analysis. I used two uniform methods of distribution. I was able to predict flow of different return periods, and that's the graph. I will not go into detail, we can proceed. And then that SWAT model performance is how I calibrated my model, and as you can see, the trend from the simulated flow and the observed flow are follow the same trend, they follow a similar trend, meaning my model performed relatively well with a coefficient of determination of about 0.68. Continue. Then that's model validation to check if really using different parameters, if this model is a true representative of the Nyamwamba catchment. It also performed well with a determination of about 0.89. Proceed. Then the scenario analysis, I carried out climate change scenarios using the different SSPIs, now SSP1 to 2.6, SSP2 to 4.5, and the SSP5 to 5.8. These are climate change scenarios. So I used these, I was able to predict, you can see it's from 2032 up to 2060. So I was able to predict a flow in excess of the 2013 Nyamwamba flood, which happened upon getting this information, such that we prepare for these occurrences. We can be able to prepare for these occurrences maybe through dredging, through planting more trees to avert this problem that could happen in future. That's how important these models are. Next slide. And that's the output from the model. It shows you how water moves in the catchment. It shows you precipitation from rainfall. It shows you the amount of surface runoff. It shows you the amount of infiltration to deeper aquifers and the return to flow. So from there, we can be able to see that surface runoff is extreme, it's maximum. It is 94% of the rainfall falling in this catchment is converted to surface runoff. So what can be done? Decision makers can be able to come up with methods of how to avert that, how to prevent this much runoff. It can be through soil and water conservation techniques, through planting trees and other methods. Next slide. Then the sensitivity analysis was done to detect the parameters contributing to high intensity, and this high sensitivity in the moisture time it takes for water to infiltrate into the soil. So once water is delayed, like the infiltration rate is delayed, that means that water, instead of going into deeper aquifers, it just runs off, increases the amount of water in the river, bursts its banks and causes flooding. That's what that can explain. Next slide. So what are the challenges to do with technology in water resources management? Data limitations. We know, like in Africa, our data record keeping is not that good. These models require many data inputs. You require land use, land cover maps, you require precipitation, temperature. So if you don't have all this data, it can limit you to run such models and get those results. The model complexity, these models of course require capacity building. You must be able to use these models. You must learn how to use them before use. So since they are complex, it becomes also a challenge. Computational resources, they require like heavy computers with a lot of processor speed, and uncertainties in future projections. With scenario analysis, you are just projecting. You don't know what may come in future. The future may be uncertain. So that is also one of the challenges, and that limits use of technology, especially these models in water resources management. Next slide. Then recommendation. I recommend enhanced data collection through investing in resilient infrastructure for data collection. We can use satellites, we can use all these kind of technologies in collecting data and bridging the gap between what data we have and the data that we need. Then model simplification through capacity building. We can be able to educate especially the policymakers and the water resources managers and all the people involved in water resources management how to use these models because of the importance they have. Then use of automated calibration techniques, for example, SWAT-CAP, which is less tiring. Then raising awareness and educating people on how important these models are, and in case of a result, people need to be informed and educated what these results mean, because not all people use these models. Then investing in research and innovations. Next slide. So in conclusion, utilization of technology can have a significant impact in enhancing water resources management, and researchers and practitioners can be given a valuable insight into the complex hydrological processes and can be able to make informed decisions for proper policy formulation and managing of water resources. I thank you very much.
A round of applause for Engineer Evans Tianje. Ladies and gentlemen, let us jot down all the questions we have for the panelists so that at the end of this particular discussion we can have those questions discussed at length. So take notes and be in position to ask each and every panelist that has been here in reference to what has been discussed. So I invite Mr. Hamilton to take over with the second panelist. Thank you.
For us, we keep time limits in these matters. Before we proceed, really, I want to thank Farida for this session. I'm making those comments because I'm the overall director of events, so I'm having two quotes on me. Also to announce the arrival and presence of our guest of honor, Moti Tsemiriro Muno Kutangira Nyamsaneno, is a media stars. We are now in handling panel discussions. We are going to the second one. My name is Kalikira Hamilton, chairperson of the second panel discussion element, but also work with the media, Voice of Torah as public relations officer, chairperson, Reproductive Health Uganda, Rwenzori region. I can see the team around and other organizations out there, but basically now doing this kind of speaking for these activities. Let me take this honor to inform you that the discussant, the second panelist, is going to discuss matters to do with the funding climate resilient innovations to address climate change crisis. Funding climate resilient innovations to address climate change crisis. In that regard, now I'm inviting and introducing Mr. Duncan Muhereza. He is a climate change scientist based at Reproductive Health Uganda, Western region, doing a couple of projects within the organization, maybe he will mention. And I will invite him right now to speak to us in terms of presenting his arrangement, tell us a little more about himself, and run the show for the next 15 minutes. I invite you and thank you for coming over. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Duncan Muhereza and I work with the Reproductive Health Uganda. Those are some of the my academic qualifications: a bachelor's degree in environmental science, a postgraduate diploma in monitoring and evaluation, Master of Science in Climate Change and Development, and a Master's in Management Studies. I have supported climate initiatives, of course, in Reproductive Health Uganda, but also I'm supporting Kasese District, the Wiriza and Kagadi to develop their climate adaptation plans, and I'm working with the ministry and the National Population Council to also influence their initiatives in terms of climate and health. But for today, we are going to have a discussion about climate finance and innovation, and I'll a little bit highlight on climate and health as I conclude, so that we can understand, because you can ask yourself a question: what is the Reproductive Uganda doing in climate change? Yeah, we can go to, yeah. So I'll not give complex science, because I prepared this presentation, understand that we have students here, politicians, and people who may not maybe digest complicated science of climate change, but good enough, my colleague has given us some. But for climate finance, we are talking about how to finance climate initiatives, how to finance climate innovations. And the innovations we are talking about fall under two. When we are tackling climate change, it must either be adaptation or mitigation. And we shall also understand that. So A simple definition of climate finance is providing financing or project focusing specifically on climate change mitigation and adaptation. We are saying in developing countries, but also developed countries can also work on it, that we focus on developing countries because they are the most hit or the greatly affected by climate disasters, and we may also slightly share about that. So when we talk about adaptation, in simple terms, is you know that you have a challenge, but how are you living with it? Then in terms of mitigation, how are you reducing the source or the cause of the problem? And in climate change, when we talk about mitigation, we are saying, how can we reduce emissions? Because the major contributor of climate change is the emissions, especially the greenhouse gases, including the most pronounced carbon dioxide, among others. Next slide. So when we talk about climate finance, providing money or funding these initiatives, where does the money come from? And is it even, when we talk about climate finance in terms of innovation, is it possible? Yes. Where does the money come from? And what are the challenges? And what are the opportunities? We can discuss those three aspects, and maybe it will be enough. We can always extend these discussions. So some of the sources of climate finance is the international climate funds. Some countries or organizations come together and put a pool of funds or resources that they channel sometimes into global entities, among others, that is directed to climate financing or to funding climate initiatives. And one of the most common is called GCF. GCF is Green Climate Fund. That is a pool that countries contribute. And then the other, number two is governments. For example, government of Uganda can put up funds, maybe through budget or through other programs, and it is directed to funding climate initiatives. The other source is multilateral development banks. World Bank can fund a climate initiative, or even the African Development Bank, or even the Bank of Uganda. So those but Bank of Uganda is not a multilateral development bank, but I'm giving the examples of banks, and it is one of them. But like locally, it can also fund climate initiatives. Then the private sector, people like you. Today we are hosted by my friend, and those are the people that fall under the private sector, organizations, civil society, and even individuals. We have rich people in this world some people are more rich than even a government or even Uganda. And those are the private sector people who can fund some of these initiatives. Okay, the next slide. When we talk about climate innovations, funding climate innovations for resilience, we want to first understand what the climate innovations are. And these are transformative ideas, technologies, practices, strategies that are implemented to address climate change. You can come up with an idea that is so unique and that is going to help us survive a challenge. And maybe these ones can be locally tailored. For example, what are some of the climate challenges do we have in Fort Portal? Fort Portal is called the tourism city. So it means the sector, the economy is depending on tourism. But climate change can be a threat to tourism. If wherever you go, I ask people that when did you last see a crested crane? And some people in some places they tell you they have spent 5 years, and this is a national bird. So if you have a tourist who want to see it and has come to Fort Portal, what is he going to pay for? You may end up losing that money because what they want to see used it to exist, but it is no more. And that is how climate change can threaten sectors like tourism. So when we talk again about climate innovations for resilience, these ones can also be in two sectors. This one I gave an example in tourism, but we can look at health. I can give another example. you may come to a facility like Reproductive Health Uganda, or now you may get a complication and you go to Buhinga. Buhinga, they get supplies from national medical stores, which come, national medical stores is in Kampala. And for now, they make their supplies through road transport. So what happens if a flood breaks off, say a road in Chenjojo, and you are due for delivery? How are they going to handle you? So this is how climate change affects sectors like health. Climate change can threaten water resources. When my colleague was presenting here about water resources, I wanted to remind myself, and I was reading something about water. Do you know the water, here in Africa, water is so abundant that you may not even realize that it is scarce. But research is saying the next world conflict is going to be about water. There's not going to be weapons. The Joseph Kony is going to be scarcity of water, and people will be growing miseries because of scarcity of water. The water availability that is available for human use is not even 1%. Did you know that? Not even 1%. Because the freshwater resources make 3%. And of the 3%, it is 0.3 that is available for human use. Because the other water is locked in ice caps, the other one is underground water. That's why people come up with innovations of putting night condos, so that you can even get what is down, but that one got it enough. And some people don't even realize that. So most of the water resources are salty, 97%, and you cannot use it unless if we use technology to sieve it. Last year I was in the UAE, in the Conference of Parties under UN, and you cannot realize how people, you cannot understand how people struggle to have water in Dubai, in the UAE. Because they have to first remove the salt that is in the water that they use. But they must survive, and there are so many. So these ones, we don't experience them here in Uganda, because Uganda is a blessed country, but some countries are struggling. And how we can move on the next slide. So when we talk about climate innovations, of course we have opportunities. And most of the things that I'm going to share here should be clear to the young people, because this is the generation. When we shall be the age of our guest of honor, we may face the harsh environment that is existing today. So meaning that it should be us, the young people, myself and you, to be so active, to engage in some of these things. And one of the ways we can solve the challenge of climate change is to come up with innovations. You can sit and think, what something new can you do to solve some of the challenges that we face that is not existing? Then we can talk about how to fund it, that we are going to share. So there are opportunities, because some of these innovations are there, some of them have been tested, and there's also barriers that we can discuss, but like we have been mentioning, of course, when you come up with innovations, some of the barriers, you may come up with innovations to avoid the barriers again. Okay, next slide. Now, some of the opportunities that I'm going to share, and this is not exhaustive, but I put geoengineering because this is at the global scale, and I can share something more about it, but I wanted to contextualize this discussion so that we discuss what is affecting us, the Ugandans, not what may not exist here in Uganda. So geoengineering in Europe, people are looking for ways of creating rain, and it is happening in Germany. When they want rain, for example, now someone has planted vegetables, and they know that the climate has been tampered, that it will not produce that rain that day. So what do? They get an aircraft, they put sodium, that is science again, but I don't want to go into it. Then they send the clouds, they send the airplane above, it spreads some chemicals, then those chemicals create rain. That is how some people in Germany are getting rain. And that is geoengineering. That is why what some people are thinking to do so that we can be safe. Some people, you know, the clouds, cumulonimbus clouds that help us to create rainfall. This is now simple science for our colleagues, the students. Now people are looking at those clouds to remove them because they are greenhouse gases. And they are saying, how can we do away with these clouds? And it has started in Europe. People are trying to see, how can we remove these clouds? But again, when we remove them, how are we going to get rain? So it is a dilemma, but we don't have an option. Some countries, people are panicking because of climate crisis. And that's how some of these innovations, sometimes they put us into what they call maladaptation. To think that you are solving a problem, yet you are creating another one. But now what we can talk about, of course, under geoengineering, they are looking at what they can do in the atmosphere, what they can do in the oceans. There is something in the oceans that help us to absorb carbon dioxide, and they are looking at how they can maximize this so that it can absorb enough carbon dioxide. So here in Uganda, we can talk about renewable energy. This is part of the potential that we have here. I mean, we have solar energy. It is a lot of it. How can we utilize it? Why would we? Because I was telling you about water sources. Do you know when you go to a salon and you shave your hair, it is water that has shaved it? Because the electricity you are using comes from water. So what if that water is cut off? It means in Fort Portal we don't have power because that is the source of it. But we have potential, we have solar energy. If we can leverage on this, and there could be innovations on how sustainably we can use renewable energy, especially solar. We're going to keep it, to maintain it when it rains. So that can be an area of discussion. Then we have, we can talk about agricultural innovations. We are talking about crops that can resist these challenges of climate change. For example, can we have cassava that can survive without rain? This can be an innovation. Then we talk about ecotourism. How can we barriers? These ones are good. Because of time, we shall rush through them. Number one, we have capacity, the skills. Do we have experts who can do some of these things? If we wanted a road like Entebbe Express that goes above water, do we have engineers in Fort Portal who can do it? That is the capacity gap. Technology. For example, when we talk about maybe trains among others, do we have that technology in here in Uganda? That is the gap. We talk about limited capacity for the companies to come up with the early stage innovations. Can a company like a hotel, say Nyaika, come up with an innovation where they can have vegetables without necessarily going to Cabernet? That is a gap. Then finance, here we can talk about how to access climate finance. They can put up an advert today that we want projects to fund. But in the process of reaching that money, especially when you are a younger person and you don't have expertise like maybe our seniors, it may be a problem. Because they'll ask you a proposal, like 30 pages, they'll ask A, B, C, D, and it is complicated. Then of course we talk about inadequate financial infrastructure, like those platforms where you can have the monies. Okay? Then of course we talk about market. If I came up with an innovation to have fish that I'm rearing at home and it is not coming from the lakes that you know, will you eat it? That is the gap. Then we talk about policy. In Uganda we have a Climate Change Act 2021, but we still lack what they call a national adaptation plan. And that one should guide all these other interventions at national and subnational level. That is a gap. Of course, some of the initiatives, for example, Reproductive Uganda, what we are doing, we are supporting groups to come up with the green innovations or green initiatives under what we are calling Green Jobs projects. So we empower them with the knowledge, we train them, and we support them to have access to markets for what they are producing. Some of the groups are doing apiary. Apiary is keeping the bees. Then others are doing vegetable gardens. So those are some of the innovations that we can come up with. So briefly, let me share about how climate change affects health in like 1 minute, then we close. You can move on. We'll move on. So briefly, climate change can affect health very severely. And all the talk we are doing, including the previous speakers, they are saying, how can a human being survive on this planet healthy? Because the engineers who are talking about water, it is not for other animals, it is for us. So now, how can climate affect health in a minute? The next slide. This photo is not from Europe, it is from the northern Uganda. This is the Uganda Red Cross. It was trying to help people who were affected by flood. I want to ask yourself, what if that day there was a mother who was due for delivery? Have you ever been sutured? Sutured in Okubazila, like if you get like maybe a cat and they Kubazila you. Imagine if they do it without doing what they call anesthesia. But it happens. For me, when I live with my team, if you are due for delivery and maybe you are cut off by floods, someone will operate you without anesthesia. What should I do? Because the supplies are not there. And these medical people can even maybe inject you with the H-cattle and use it on another person because it is one that we have. What should we do? If we are cut off by floods, we cannot access hospitals, the hospitals have been broken down, then these challenges we have to accept them. And that is how climate change can affect health. This is one of the examples.
And listen out.
Okay, let me conclude. So these are not talk about them, but climate change can even hit itself. Hit when a woman is pregnant, and this is science, let me share it please. If a woman is exposed to heat that has increased by 2 degrees for 2 weeks, this woman is at 6% chance of having a stillbirth. Ningenda kurugamu. Because you are exposed to heat that your body cannot manage and again support the fetus. So what if the 2 degrees go by 4? What if they come 6? And of course Uganda has had 1.3 degrees increase in its temperatures since the 1960s. But we are still going on and these temperatures are still increasing. Finally, this one, let me not talk about it. Also not talk about it. Now let me talk about this slide and I finish. So climate change can cause displacements. You know what happens when you are displaced? You are not at your home. Even if you want to go for a short call and there is no sort of privacy, you are not comfortable. But imagine someone has to do or use something that is supposed to be done in a theater. What happens? Then talk about disruption in medical supplies. We talk about disruption of health facilities, and we talk about water scarcity. As I conclude, water scarcity itself, which can be caused by climate change due to increase in temperatures, can cause fatalities. People can die because there's no water. If you doubt it, let you have a woman who is in menstrual and you don't have even a single drop. That's when you realize there is no fatality, but what happens is enough to show you that you are in a crisis. Thank you so much.
I appreciate once more, colleagues. Thank you so much. Thank you, Duncan, for the delivery. Diplomatic apologies that we give little time because we started a little later. We don't want to eat too much into other people's time, but there is a lot in that package. Let me now imagine and believe that you have been taking note of the areas where you need to make a comment, because at some point, after the third discussion, we shall make available some 6, 7, 8 minutes for the rest of us in the House to interact in terms of a question or a comment, something like that. But let me now invite my colleague Mutegeki Al-Islam Said Musa to take charge of the next panel discussion. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Hamilton Kariegera and all the colleagues here. You'll allow me that in the very first precedence, apologize for having plastics in here. For the whole commissioning, the whole planning, we didn't intend to have plastics, and it's not our making. We don't like plastics, we don't love them, but next time we'll do better. With everyone with the plastic somewhere, use with caution, and understand that in the course of the day, we really need strongly detach ourselves in this aspect if we are to enhance environmental conservation. My previous moderators allow me have change of program as they've talked to different stakeholders involved in this, in that our chief guest is in the house, and I would very much appreciate to have his timely communication so that you can have time to fulfill other engagements and commitments. Amoti, we are very much honored to have you here, and this event is a third or fourth day of the Ministry of Water and Environment, Water and Environment Week activities that is ongoing, and the Environmental Symposium is one of the activities that has been organized by the Ministry of Water and Environment, Albert Water Management Zone, in partnership with Toro Botanical Gardens, the host, and AFREA. And in the House today, we have dignified representations from the Ministry of Water and Environment, the team leader, managers of different directorates, and different partners from different conservation institutions that are very much concerned about the environment and water resources. And we are very much awaiting your communication, as we've been very much humbled to have you today amidst your tight schedules, to ensure that you've spared this time to be with us. Amot Professor Edward Ugmoyo is the chairman board and founder of Toro Botanical Gardens, Mountains of the Moon University, and very many other things that you might have heard about him. His presence humbles everyone, and we're very much glad to have him here. And I'll take this opportunity to invite him to the platform to deliver his communication and officially commission this Environmental Symposium, after which we'll have 2 photos for purposes of documentation of this memorable event, in that the first photo will have representation from the Ministry of Water and Environment and its different departments,
team leaders of different NGOs that are here contributing. And then the last, which is the second photo, will be a group photo for all the participants that are here. Once that one is done, we'll resume to our program of the panel discussion. I hope you take heart to that, and we have this done. With much honor, Amot Professor, you're most welcome to have your communication. Thank you.
I think I will see. Face me.
Yeah,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are most welcome to Toro Botanical Gardens, which is a gardens located in the middle of Fort Portal, and which is working with all other partners to conserve our indigenous trees plus other trees, and to ensure that we contribute our energy and time and resources to mitigate problems of climate change. First of all, I got this invitation from Godfrey Ryonga, who is the director of this very important entity. And he told me that we're going to get a lot of very important activists engaged in challenges of climate change. Now, I'm told we have environmental defenders. Can you put up your hands? Good. We have innovators. We have innovators here. Yes. We have thought leaders. That is you guys are going to do research. We have other stakeholders of environment. I've listened very carefully in most engaging presentation about new technologies to mitigate environmental challenges. Very exciting. However, the challenge we all have is that the environment, people who act and impact environment are not with us. And who are these? The people in the rural areas, the industrialists, the city, the urban dwellers. And now it's like a biblical saying that it's a voice crying in the wilderness. This is not to detract from the wonderful researches you are doing. I've been in government for some time, but I know that many reports, commission reports, and many researches just remain on the shelves. That's why I feel sorry for you and ourselves. However, my short talk is on something very mundane. There's a proverb here in Toro which says, Tinkafire avyara emitoma. How many know that proverb? Oh my goodness. Oh. So how many speak in Toro here? Yeah, those are the challenges we have. Proverbs are never taught. They're just absorbed by young people through conversation. They're never taught. But anyway, Tinkafiri avyara emitoma. I'll try and put in simple language. An older person like me, at my age, because I'm not dead yet, I can still plant ficus trees. And the ficus tree takes a long time to mature and produces bark cloth. Now, if you are not at my age and you want to plant ficus tree, what are you doing? You're planting it for the future generation. So what we're having here, these are basic ideas known to all environmentalists. We are actually not working hard enough to plant ficus naturalis trees. And yet, we inherited from such trees when we were around in this world. Now, we want to move and ignore them and leave nothing behind. Now, ordinary farmers, that is, ordinary people, that is farmers, artisans, school children, and parents, we live closest to life environment. On the other hand, people like ourselves, we live in urban areas, in Kampala, for instance, tend to ignore the natural environment because they live in built environments with all its byproducts. Yet these products, which produce byproducts, come from rural areas. Timber, minerals, food, everything. The question is, how do these two groups impact the environment? Rural people reduce the environment cover. Urban people promote the natural environment. So the two must work together. So how do you, as researchers, and this is a very exciting research researches, how do we calm down in simple language, in organized ways to sensitize the fact. Now, there is a go-between component here, and that is government. Government is the one between the polluters, the industrialists, the farmers, and the rest of society. Government must enact and enforce, repeat, enforce laws to protect the environment. If you read the media, you've seen how our NEMA, National Environment Management Agency, has let down ordinary people, you included, by giving licenses that really violate environmental integrity. I'm not going into details, but what is funny in quotes, is that nature always fights back. Some of you even go to Kampala, you've seen houses built in the middle of swamps. One day, nature will take its course. But that's not what we wish to happen. So how do we, as a society, using our government, through NEMA, ensure that all these regulations, all these mitigation measures are put in place and enforced? So, this is the job of environmental defenders, innovators, thought leaders, researchers, and others. We live in a very fast-moving environment. But when you look at our environment, look at Fort Portal. It's like, as I said, a voice crying in the wilderness. Look at Kampala. All the other cities. River Easy, almost dried up, and to get water from other sources to support Mbarara city. Look at Karamoja. Many of you have never been to Karamoja. And yet, when proper environmental practices and knowledge of groundwater are utilized, that place can become a breadbasket for the area. So there's violence in Africa and other places. In our case, this violence is a product of environmental degradation. People come to cities, they're hungry, they're poor, there's violence. Others start wars from periphery. So, you young people, you really have to begin to fight for the environment protection. Not only protect, but rehabilitate it. Get rid of caveras. When you go to Nakivugo, it is choked with plastics. And it continues. And no one is doing anything about it. That swamp, like Ivory Swamp and Rosetta Swamp, was, or still is, a filter. Water for the water going into Lake Victoria. But so many people have built in that swamp. And a member does nothing. So it's not for lack of laws or ideas, it's for lack of enforcement. Now, this Toba Gardens is an initiative by the locals. I included. And I'm glad we are beginning now to have outreach activities. We have work in some areas, regulation of forests in Kagadi, in Kisoro, and these other areas. And even over here. But this support comes from overseas. And we are very grateful to our partners. Where is NEMA in all this? Do they support us? See? No. But can you go always being supported by outsiders? And please, we're always grateful. These climate models, hydrological models, impact society. I have yet to hear all this work you researchers are doing on panel discussions on our television and the radio stations. I have yet to hear. And it's not your fault. But it also shows that we have not, as a society, as a country, made environmental issues a priority. You and I can't do it. All the time we have politics, all sorts of things, but not these critical issues that impact our lives. When poverty increases, the environment suffers. On the other hand, when there is too much wealth, which wealth is extracted, which is created from the environment suffers. The country's leadership, that is politicians and NGOs and all, must continue to increase anti-poverty programs, like the Parish Development Program models. You see, remember, every year, with monotonous regularity, floods, affects the whole area, destroy the hospitals, and is continuing to cause havoc because the catchment up there has been eroded. People have built upstream, and yet there are techniques and technologies which can mitigate the work up there. When you go to Southeast Asia and see the terraces on steep schools. What is that prevents us from really doing the same on our very high energy areas? Is we must work out programs that will mitigate environmental impact, but at the same time involve the ordinary people. We cannot construct terraces without the ordinary people doing it. So we need to train them, involve them in their own salvation or rescue from it with the word. Of course, as environments, you know the famous saying that we have not inherited the environment from our ancestors, but borrowed it from our children. That is very critical. Are we really eating into the resources of the next generation? I think we are. From going by the researches we've seen today. So colleagues, young people, I'm very happy to see that you're engaged in this struggle. But at the same time, I request you to be crusaders. Go out and preach the gospel. Start to sensitize other people through media and other fora so that people know what their role is in conserving the environment. I'd like to thank all the support you've given to TBG. That is Minister of Environment and other activists. I'd like to see more of such fora being held here and other places. But remember, we as TBG are always ready to partner with organizations of similar programs. With these few remarks, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. I'm afraid I can't stay long because I have another program waiting for me, which is running behind time. Thank you very much, Godfrey, and all your colleagues, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amoti. We are very humbled for your inspiration words. We always want to keep listening and listening. And as you said, we can never work in isolation. The Ministry of Water and Environment, AFREA, and other pronounced partners have always been contributing to this noble cause. So, Professor, we had a request that we may not meet now as we sent out invitations, and we are people knew that you're going to be the chief guest here. There's a young generation, there's a young boy who wanted to perform to you because they want to express their gratitude and the inspiration you've given to them. But I need this to attention. we may not compromise that. And with the interest of time, we may not have a very big group because of rain, but I will request the team leader, Minister of Water and Environment, AWMZ, because he knows very well the other departments within the ministry, and the team leader representatives of the NGOs that are here and partners to create space in front here for just a group photo, ceremonial photo, because we may not go into rain given the context of the time and the situation. If we can do that in the most appropriate time, that would be very helpful. But I don't take much time of our chief guest. Thank you.
The representatives of the institution that have participated in this, please come. Our colleague, Environment Police Officer, please, you are part of this. Our government representative, local council chairperson. Probably the team members, we can organize a few seats in front for so that we don't look at it. Don't put seats in front and seat. The people behind shouldn't be blocked. Yes. Not worried. Please, those in front, probably it's good to put some seats. Islam, somebody behind you, chairperson, Lucifer. Yes. So, okay. Don't worry, we shall have another photo in addition to this. Let's have a smaller number that can fit into it. Yes. Okay. The photographers will tell us that leave nobody behind when you are inside here. I'm sure the talking going to disrupt your photos. Okay. When the rain ceases, we shall have another one. When the rain ceases, we shall have another one. We are thinking, so, Al-Islam, you have mentioned some group that you want to present before not leaving that. Say it proper. Ametekirize udafikiri mwana wa atekanize kumaliza.
My fellow environmentalists, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. My name is Mwanga Pendo from Media Club. Today, my responsibility is simple: to shed light onto our dear parents, learners, and those who are listening today about the undeniable importance of environmental conservation. Before I do that, I would love to make it clear that many people can pass exams, they can graduate, they can even later qualify for the jobs they admire. but they do not know the responsibilities of protecting the environment they live in. The country within we are living needs men and women, graduates, who are taught in all sections of environmental conservation. We need leaders who do not sleep in parliament, but argue about environmental conservation and protection. We need qualified doctors who can speak with their patients about a clean and cool environment. I have seen fellow age mates who keep throwing plastic bottles when they are moving comfortably in vehicles. I thought it was a responsibility of parents to teach their children the true essence of a clean and cool environment. Gone are the days where everybody around your home was your parent. We even used to fear to do something wrong because we would be punished by our parents, by our neighbors. Because it was a collective responsibility of the upbringing of children. Now, parents want to see their children get fat, look good, and be cool. But the question is, of what value does it do to this child? We are in a world where super border and safe border are first in the help of environmental emergency response. We are in a world where people fear coronavirus, Ebola, thieves, more than how they fear environmental disasters. We are in a world where environmental pollution is spoken about without any fear. Me talking about it is making it normal. Allow me to say this. We are slowly losing ourselves. What is wrong with us? What are you going to leave as an explanation for the next generation? If I was an author, I would leave a question to you all. Is this world becoming safe for your child? Or are you the major problem this world has? What would you tell your child if they asked you the role you played in environmental conservation? Sacrifice for what you want, suffer to get it, and get relief after success. Struggle to make it, and your success will make the noise. Be passionate about your environment. Thank you. To our dear Vice Chancellor, Mountains of the Moon University, and also a former Speaker of Uganda, Professor Ugumaya Edward. Do you really think that technology will help in water pollution? And if do you really think that technology will help in water pollution? And if your answer is yes, why do you have to pollute waters which leads to killing of aquatic life? When you are still a Speaker of Uganda, and also now as you are the Senior Presidential Advisor, what have you done to see you keep Otpoto cool and green? Thank you to all who are listening today. And before I leave the stage, I would love to ask Professor Ugumaya Edward, after the rain, you have inspired me and Media Club a lot, so I would love to take a photo with you.
Those who are helping us taking photos, you are there ready? Photo takers, those who are helping us in the photos. Okay. Okay, let me assume that you have done it and you are getting through with it. You are a period of Sanyoko. And the of is now I'm saying, okay, in the next 1 minute you should have finished, and in the next 1 minute there is another group before he departs. Just who needs a minute just to stand behind him for a photo. Come mwani mirali nyimbaru Amerika. Nyingine tuamalize zingine. The students kindly can take back your seats. The photos have been taken. If some was a tea. Mkagenda mundu. The panelists and other officers who have not had the opportunity, please come around. What? Our institutions, please want to mention, you know, when the panel don't park because we don't have extra time with us. Come quickly, those who desire to have the photo with the professor before he goes away. Oh, yes. Okay, the representatives of the institutions, higher institutions of learning, if you are here, as quickly as possible. The rain is a little bit a blessing in disguise, and he has accepted to wait a minute for us. Okay. Okay. The second last group, those are the officers who feel they really should have it before he leaves. Will be next. Organizing committee. This is making me a little bit. Organizing committee of this important symposium, if you are near, as a team, after these ones have gone off. The organizing committee, very quickly. Okay, thank you. If you are part of the organizing committee, as our team, the organizing committee of this symposium, and other officers of the ministry who have not had the opportunity, come and join us. Okay, you could have a seat. Okay, somebody is sitting. Okay, this is the last, by the way. The other one will be the general one as he walks, and it takes place in the rain. I don't know, but this is it. Okay, so, okay, somebody is singing. Hata wakati usani wakihera sigara mtomo wako, amoto wali mino kutikiriza tere na wekisani. Islam, please, you are arranging to see off our guest of honor. As he moves off, we are remaining here. We have the third session of the panel discussion. The third session of the panel discussion. I'm saying the third, not third. Third.